In this video, I'm going to go over a lot of reasons why your fish might be dying, and a lot of this is very unobvious. Now, this first thing I want to talk about is actually colourful gravel and the decor. So, colourful gravel often isn't actually dyed with fish safe stuff and will slowly leach chemicals into the water and slowly make the fish very sick, as well as those ugly little like SpongeBob decor things, like all that fake stuff is bad for your aquarium. It's ugly for one, and two, it's not natural. All those big bright ugly colours and those sharp plastic corners might harm your fish. That kind of stuff might be a reason why your fish are dying, because of the leaching chemicals and the sharp edges, and also the very bright colours that could be stressing them out. Now, this next one I've actually fallen victim to. I've killed fish with this before, and that is, where are you actually finding your aquarium decor? Because if you're getting it from the bush, there is a lot of like crap that flows down there from humans, a lot of waste from like the roads, the flood water, that could be like leaching into the wood, especially wood that absorbs a lot of chemicals that could leach out into your water. Stuff from the sidewalk can also be dangerous. It could have stuff from the road, it could be sprayed. People come across along the roads and spray it with chemicals to kill off the weeds. So that is another thing that will kill your fish. If there is stuff soaked into that wood, soaked into the sandstone, anything that you are finding on the side of the road or from rivers that have had a lot of people there, then it could very well be poisoned. Now, this one is an obvious one, but a lot of people still don't understand it, and that is either doing too much or too little water changes. Now, the pet stores will often tell you do a water change every week, but that only really depends on how your tank is set up. So if you have shitloads of plants, my fish tanks have so many plants, and I basically never do water changes because the plants will absorb all of the ammonia. Ammonia is very toxic. If you don't have any plants or any way to get it out, you need to do water changes, and depending on how many fish you have depends on how many water changes you do. So if you have a tank, let's say you have a 20-litre tank with 4 guppies, you probably will need to do water changes every week, but not scrubbing down the sides of the aquarium, because there is so much beneficial bacteria that grows on the sides of the aquarium and in the filter, on the heater, on the decor, and you do not want to scrub all that off, because that also helps break down all the ammonia. But if you have a tank full of plants, then you probably won't need to do water changes. But it is very important that you do not do water changes every week and fully tear down the tank, scrub everything. Do not use soap to clean your tanks either, because that is chemicals and it will likely just kill your fish. You can't really get all of that off. So don't use chemicals. Just do a simple 50% to maybe just even 20% water change with a lot of fish in a small tank. If you have maybe one fighting fish in a 40-litre tank, you'll probably only need to do it like once a month, maybe even every 3 weeks. Now, when you get new fish, if this is from a fish shop that you don't really know very well, maybe you've seen a few dead fish, or just like basically as a rule, any fish shop that you get fish from, if you are putting it into a tank with a lot of other fish, it's important to quarantine it just for a little bit, because often pet stores do not take care of their fish. I see all the time, almost every time I go into a pet store, they have these racks of fish tanks with dividers, and often in some of those dividers there are dead fish, dying fish, diseased fish. Like, I see fish with parasites all the time. Fish stores do not take very good care of their fish. Sure, every now and then you will find a fish store that does take good care of their fish, but generally they're not taking very good care, and it is very likely that you're going to be taking a sick fish into your home and going to give your fish that you already have the diseases from that fish. Some things that you might see in these fish are them being extremely skinny, and this is internal parasites, and these things are very annoying, because even if that fish, like, you have the fish, and if it gets better, it's still in the substrate. These parasites can live in the substrate for a while, and they will leach onto other fish, and they are very hard to get rid of, especially internal parasites, because external ones are a little bit easier, because you can dose the fish water, you can, like, do all this other stuff, but internal ones are very hard to get rid of, as well as multiple other diseases that your fish can get from other pet store fish. Quarantining only really has to last a week or two, because you just need to see if they're going to get sick or not. If they're looking fine after a week or two, chuck them in with your other fish, but don't put the pet store water in with your fish tank, because that could also have a lot of the bad water, a lot of the ammonia-filled water, and it's just not good. You just take the fish out with your hand or a net. If it's like a fish, like a fighting fish, you could probably grab it out with your hand or like a goldfish. Obviously neon tetras use a net, but some fish, like spiky fish, like, let me think, plecos, will get stuck in the net sometimes. Not all the time, but they might get stuck in the net. So you might just have to pour out the water, like most of the water, and get a little bit in your fish tank. That's alright, you just might want to do a little water change afterwards. Now this next one is also something you've probably heard of, but a lot of people don't actually follow it, and that is the tank size and the water parameters. Now, this is extremely important. This is so important, and a lot of people don't take it seriously. You need to have the correct temperature for your tank, and a lot of fighting fish, I see people with fighting fish, they do not belong in bowls. They need at least a 25, preferably 30-litre tank, and they need a heater because they are tropical fish. They need a heater, and they need some sort of filter or a bunch of plants. A lot of people think because they live in puddles, which are usually rice fields or just big puddles, that they can just do whatever they want, but no, you need a proper sized tank. You need a heater for all tropical fish species, and you need a big tank. You need an appropriately sized tank. And also, a lot of these fish will get their fins torn on some decor, so depending on the fish, you'll need to change the decor. Fighting fish, you don't want big sticks and sharp things, or you will tear up their fins. This could lead to more disease. Now, of course, we have food. So a lot of fish will love eating bugs, they love eating worms, they love eating mosquito larvae, and you can go out and collect your own food for them. I do that all the time with my fish, but it's important that you don't get it from a polluted water source. I often have buckets outside everywhere, collect mosquito larvae. If you're seeing a lot of dead mosquito larvae, do not get it from there. It's just very important that you get it from a source where there is no pollution or anything. If you're gonna get crickets and stuff, you can feed your fish, my big cichlids. I recently got a scorpion. I feed my scorpion big little crickets, and I also feed those crickets to my fish. So yeah, you can feed them crickets and small worms. But it's very important that you get them from a good source, and you're not just feeding them that, because they need a variety. Different fish, of course, will need different types of food. And of course, we have species compatibility. Now, this might come across obvious, a lot of people see fish in the store, and they're that fish is a similar size, looks the same, same species maybe. And they put them together and they battle and sometimes kill each other or just hurt each other. It becomes a nightmare. I've actually recently made this mistake. I still have the fish that were fighting. I got my dad's blue eye cichlids, put them with my other fish, and they didn't work out. Yes, you need to do your research, but it's also important to understand that not all research is actually going to be correct, and some fish are just fish that will destroy each other, on their individual personality. So I have this tank with blue eyes and firemouth, and blue eyes are supposed to be alright with each other, but as soon as I tried to add the other blue eyes, they shredded each other and try to murder each other. And so not all fish are going to work together just because the internet says it is. And also some fish will work together even if the internet says it's against it. Like fighting fish, for example. I've literally never had a problem with fighting fish and neon tetras, bristle noses, all that stuff. So it's really complicated, and use it as a rule of thumb. Obviously, don't put a fucking convict and a betta fish together. So use common sense, but also, just be prepared that your fish, even though the internet says that they will get along, they might not get along. Even in, tetra schools, schools of neon tetras, there might be sparring going on, they'll be stressing each other out. Bigger fish will take on smaller fish to fight for dominance, and often that smaller fish will just get left out and obviously die because there's everyone else is eating the food and they're the smallest at the bottom, which brings us on to the type of fish you keep together, as in how much they eat and how fast they are versus how much the others eat. So if you have a bunch of tetras, a big school of tetras, soon as you put that food in there, and then you have loaches at the bottom of the tank, they're not going to get any food because the neon tetras, not saying that neon tetras and loaches can't live together, but you really do need to consider the bottom feeders versus the top feeders versus the middle feeders. So top feeders, their mouths are angled upwards because they eat off the top. You'll notice that in a lot of fish. It's kind of hard to see. Bottom feeders, like loaches and plecos, their mouths are facing down. So, it's hard to say right now, but if you're looking, just look at their face and you'll see what I mean. A lot of cichlids have front forward mouths. So the bottom feeders, loaches, plecos, cories, downwards facing mouth, tetras and betta fish, upwards facing mouth. So if you see that, you need to consider to feed them all. Feed them all. You need some sinking pellets, maybe for the loaches. You need, like, any sort of pellet, I guess, for the tetras, as long as they can actually eat it and it fits in their mouth. Just different sinking stuff, different stuff, so that they all get the opportunity to eat, otherwise they will starve. And that was all that I had for this video. I'm planning on making maybe a part 2, just because there are so many reasons, but I don't want this to be an extremely long video. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. If you have any other tips that you have that you want to tell other people about, tell us in the comment section, and so people can learn from you. And if there's any videos you want me to make, go tell me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.